Close your eyes now, my sweet listener. Let the weight of the day melt gently from your shoulders as you sink deeper into the pillow, deeper into the softness that holds you so safely tonight. Feel the cool cotton brush against your cheek, the slow rise and fall of your own breathing becoming the only rhythm you need. Outside, a gentle rain has begun to fall, tiny silver drops kissing the window pane in the quietest whisper, tap, tap, tap like the softest fingers tracing circles on your tired mind. Let that rain carry you. Let it wash away every thought that is too loud, every worry that still clings to the edges of the evening. You are here, you are safe, and I am right beside your ear, speaking so softly, so slowly, just for you. Tonight we are going to drift together into one of the most tender worlds ever dreamed. The world of Howl's moving castle. You already know its shape in your heart, don't you? The creaking wooden legs that walk across misty hills. The smoke curling from 4 crooked chimneys. The way the door can open onto green meadows or sparkling harbors or even the middle of a war. But tonight we will not rush. Tonight we will linger in every tiny detail. Every scent of bread and engine oil. Every flutter of a frightened heart. Every moment Sophie learns that growing old on the outside can sometimes set the soul gloriously free. I will spoil everything, every secret, every tear, every kiss, because this is a bedtime story meant to feel like coming home to a film you have loved 100 times already. Did you know that Hayao Miyazaki drew more than 130,000 individual cells by hand for this movie, refusing almost all computer help because he wanted every frame to breathe with human warmth? And here's a quiet little secret. The original novel by Diana Wynne Jones is deliciously different. Miyazaki changed the ending himself after the Iraq War began, pouring his own ache for peace into Howl's fear of fighting. Feel that ache settle gently in your chest now, like a small warm stone. Have you ever been afraid to stand up for what is right because it might cost you everything? Just notice the question. Let it float past like a cloud. No need to answer tonight. Breathe in slowly. 1, 2, 3, and breathe out. 4, 5, 6. Good. Another slow breath, tasting the faint sweetness of the air, maybe a hint of lavender from your pillow, maybe the memory of warm milk. Let your body grow heavier, your legs sinking, your arms loose and open. Imagine my voice is the softest blanket, wrapping around you twice. There is nothing you need to do except listen and drift. Somewhere far away, a castle is walking. You can almost hear the low groaning of old timber, the clank of iron joints, the soft puff of steam from Calcifer's hearth. That castle is looking for a place to rest tonight, and it has chosen to rest right here, inside this story, inside your dreams. When Sophie first sees it stumbling across the misty moor, she is already 90 years old on the outside, though only 18 in her heart. She smells of wool and worry and the faint lavender soap she uses in her hat shop. Her hands are wrinkled now, but they still remember how to shape felt and ribbon with love. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt suddenly older than you are, as though some invisible spell aged you overnight? Perhaps a heartbreak did it, or a disappointment, or simply the slow weight of days that felt too heavy. Sophie knows that feeling. She is about to step through a door that will change everything, and you, dear one, are about to step through it with her. The rain outside grows a little softer now, like a lullaby the sky is singing just for us. let it sing. Let the sound of my whispering mix with the rain until you cannot tell where one ends and the other begins. In a moment we will follow Sophie out into the foggy morning when the curse first finds her. But for now, simply rest in this gentle in-between place. Rest, and know that every wound in this story will be healed, every frightened heart will be held, every lost thing will come home. That is the promise I make to you tonight. Feel your eyelids growing deliciously heavy, the way velvet feels when it brushes your skin. Feel the tiny muscles around your eyes relax, then the muscles in your cheeks, your jaw softening, your tongue resting quiet and calm. Good. Another slow breath in and out, carrying you lower, into the warm dark where stories wait like old friends. When you are ready, and only when you are ready, we will begin at the very beginning. The quiet town of Market Chipping, the smell of fresh straw hats, and the moment a shy girl named Sophie Hatter meets a handsome, heartbreaking wizard under a sky full of floating hats. Until then, just float. Just listen to the rain. Just let my voice hold you the way Howl will one day hold Sophie, carefully, fiercely, and without ever letting go. Let the warmth of the blanket settle a little deeper now. Let the rain outside slow to the gentlest drizzle, the kind that makes the whole world feel like it's being hushed by a loving hand. Breathe in, slowly. Feel the cool air slide down into your chest, and breathe out, letting everything loosen, letting every small tension slip away like water through fingers. Good. You are floating now, weightless, and I am right here, whispering so close that my words feel like the softest feathers brushing the shell of your ear. We begin in Market Chipping, a sleepy town where the streets smell of warm bread in the morning and coal smoke in the evening. The cobblestones are worn smooth by generations of quiet feet. Sophie Hatter wakes before the sun, as she always does, tying her soft brown hair into its plain braid, slipping on her simple gray dress that smells faintly of wool and lavender soap. She is 18. But she already moves like someone much older, careful, apologetic, as though she is afraid of taking up too much space in the world. Have you ever felt that way, darling? Like you were born apologizing for existing? Just notice the feeling. Let it drift past like steam from a kettle. Downstairs in the hat shop, ribbons hang in quiet rainbows. Feathers rest in boxes like sleeping birds. Sophie trims and steams and stitches, her fingers quick and gentle. She believes beauty is something other people wear, never herself. When her sisters chatter about soldiers and cakes and dances, Sophie only smiles politely and returns to her work. She thinks, plain girls like me don't get adventures. Oh, how wrong she is. On the day everything changes, the town is celebrating May Day. Flags flutter, brass bands play, children chase ribbons. Sophie stays behind to mind the shop, polishing the glass counter until it gleams like still water. The bell above the door tinkles, and in walks a soldier, tall, drunk on festival wine, wanting to flirt. Sophie's cheeks burn. She steps back, murmuring excuses. Then another figure appears in the doorway, impossibly elegant, coat the color of midnight, hair like spilled starlight. Howl. He smells of wind and cherry blossom and something electric, like the air before lightning. With one lazy smile, he sends the soldiers running, then turns to Sophie, bows low, and says in the softest voice, There you are, sweetheart. I've been looking everywhere for you. His words wrap around her like silk. She blushes crimson, stammering that he has the wrong person. But Howl only laughs, low and musical, and offers his arm. They step out into the bright street together, and for one dazzling moment, Sophie is flying, literally flying, Howl's magic lifting them above the rooftops, while bewildered townsfolk look up and gasp. The wind tugs her braid loose. Her hat sails away like a white bird. Howl's coat billows around them both, warm and scented with summer nights. She feels the strong circle of his arm around her waist and, for the first time in her life, Sophie feels beautiful. But beauty attracts jealousy. That very night, the Witch of the Waste, heavy with perfume and malice, sweeps into the hat shop after closing. Her face is hidden behind layers of powder and spite. She is furious that Howl danced with a plain girl instead of her. With a lazy flick of glittering nails, she casts a curse. You stole my wizard, so I'll steal your youth. Black smoke pours from her sleeves, thick as ink, smelling of burnt sugar and old roses. Sophie tries to run, but the smoke coils around her like chains. She feels her bones creak, her skin loosen, her hair turn silver. When the smoke clears, she is 90 years old, wrinkled, stooped, breathless. The mirror shows a stranger with kind eyes still trapped behind a face full of years. Tears come, hot and useless. Sophie touches her new papery cheeks and whispers, "This is what I always feared I was inside." She cannot let her family see her like this. They would only worry. So she packs one small bag, ties a shawl over her silver hair, takes her walking stick, and slips out into the foggy dawn. The air smells of wet grass and distant wood smoke. Every step aches, but her heart, strangely, feels lighter. If I am already old, she thinks, then I have nothing left to lose. Have you ever discovered freedom inside something that should have been a prison? Sometimes the thing we fear most is the door we needed all along. She walks for hours across the misty hills until the sun is high and her legs tremble. On the horizon, she sees it for the first time. Howl's moving castle, stumbling toward her like a drunken iron chicken. Smoke pours from its chimneys, windows glint like suspicious eyes, 4 mismatched legs creak and clank. It smells of soot and toast, and something indefinably alive. Sophie stands very still, heart thumping against her old ribs. She is terrified, but she is also desperate for shelter. When the castle lumbers close enough, she sees a small door in its side, painted bright green. She lifts her walking stick, knocks 3 times, knock, knock, knock. The sound soft against ancient wood, and the door swings open on its own. Inside is warm chaos. Gears turn lazily overhead. Soot drifts like black snow. A fire crackles in the hearth, bright orange with a face inside it. Calcifer, a fire demon with huge eyes and a mouth full of flickering teeth, looks up and yelps, "A human! Howl will kill me!" Sophie, too tired to be frightened anymore, simply says, "I'm coming in. I need a place to rest." She steps over the threshold, and the door closes behind her with a gentle, final click. Calcifer sputters, flames turning blue with alarm. "You're cursed! I can smell it!" Sophie only nods, weary to the bone. "Yes, and you're bound to this hearth, aren't you?" The little demon gasps. "No one is supposed to know that." In that moment, an unspoken bargain flickers between them like shared candlelight. Sophie feels the first tiny spark of hope since the curse. Maybe she is not powerless after all. Upstairs, something beautiful and vain is singing in the bathroom, voice echoing off tiles. Howl, wrapped in steam and self-pity, has no idea his life is about to be turned gloriously upside down by a 90-year-old cleaning lady with the heart of a lion. And you, sweet listener, have just crossed the threshold with her. Feel the warmth of the hearth on your cheeks now. Smell the faint toast and engine oil. Let the gentle creaking of the castle rock you like a ship on quiet waves. Everything is about to become softer, braver, more magical. Just rest here a moment longer, breathing slow, letting the castle carry us both into the heart of the story. The castle rocks you now, very gently, the way an old ship rocks on a night sea that has forgotten how to be rough. Every slow creak of timber is a lullaby. Every puff of steam from the pipes is a sigh that says, "Stay, stay, you are safe inside these warm wooden walls." Let your shoulders drop another inch. Let the pillow cradle the exact curve of your neck. Let the rain outside become a velvet curtain between you and the noisy world. Breathe in the faint smell of toast that still lingers in the air. Breathe out everything that is not this moment. Good. I am here, whispering slower than the rain, closer than your own heartbeat. Sophie wakes on her first morning inside the moving castle to the smell of burning bacon and the sound of a small boy swearing under his breath. Markle, Howl's young apprentice, stands on tiptoe at the stove, his oversized wizard coat dragging on the floorboards. When he sees Sophie, his eyes go wide as saucers. "Who are you and why are you old?" he blurts. Sophie only smiles the way grandmothers smile when children are honest and says, "I'm the new cleaning lady. This place is a disgrace." She rolls up the sleeves of her borrowed nightgown and begins scrubbing before anyone can stop her. The texture of soot is soft and greasy under her wrinkled fingers, like charcoal butter. Each stroke of the cloth feels like wiping away years of loneliness. Calcifer watches from the hearth, flames flickering between amusement and alarm. "If you move me from this spot, I'll go out forever," he warns. Sophie only hums an old lullaby and keeps scrubbing. She discovers the castle is alive in the smallest ways. The kettle sighs when it's happy. The floorboards murmur when they're stepped on too hard. The windows blink slowly like sleepy cats. She polishes brass until it glows like captured sunrise. She finds Howl's potions in the bathroom, bottles labeled in handwriting that looks like wind, colors shifting from storm blue to rose gold when she lifts them. One bottle smells exactly like the moment before rain, another like childhood summer she can almost remember. She lines them up carefully, the way she once lined up ribbons in the hat shop. When Howl finally emerges from the bathroom, hair still damp and shining like moonlight on water, he takes one look at the spotless room and the tiny old woman calmly folding laundry and shrieks, as though someone has set his soul on fire. "Who let a grandmother in here?" he wails, clutching his perfect face. Sophie does not even glance up. "I let myself in," she says, voice steady as bread dough. "And if you want breakfast, you'll stop whining and set the table." Markle's mouth falls open. Calcifer cackles so hard he almost turns purple. Howl stares at Sophie for a long moment, something unreadable flickering behind his beautiful eyes, fear, maybe, or recognition, and then he does the most astonishing thing. He obeys. He floats to the cupboard on a puff of magic. Plates clinking softly, and sets the table like a sulky child. Have you ever met someone who pretended to be shallow because depth terrified them? Someone whose vanity was really just armor made of mirrors? Howl wears his beauty the way knights once wore steel, because if people only see the surface, they will never guess how frightened he is underneath. Feel that small ache in your chest now, the ache that knows what it is to hide. Let it soften, let it breathe. Days begin to blur together inside the walking house. The castle stomps across flowering meadows at dawn, steam curling from its nostrils like dragon breath. Sophie hangs laundry on lines that stretch between chimneys, the wind tugging sheets like sails. She learns the 4 colored knobs on the front door: green for the hills, blue for Port Haven by the sea, red for Kingsbury the capital, black for somewhere Howl will not speak of. Each time the dial clicks, the smell changes. Salt air, city smoke, mountain pine, or the cold metallic scent of secrets. At night she sits by Calcifer's fire, feeding him logs that smell of applewood and listening to his grumbling. One evening, when the castle is parked on a quiet cliff above the ocean, and the moon is a silver coin on black water, Calcifer leans close and whispers, "I'll tell you how to break your curse if you break my contract with Howl." Sophie's old heart flutters like a moth. "Tell me his true name," Calcifer says, voice trembling with centuries of captivity. Sophie promises nothing yet, but the seed is planted. She strokes the warm logs gently, feeling the pulse of the castle through the grain of the wood, and wonders what it means to give your heart away and still keep it safe. Meanwhile, Howl grows more and more restless. War drums echo across the land. Both sides want the famous wizard Howl to fight for them. He refuses, but every refusal costs him. At night, he slips out the black door and returns hours later as a huge winged creature, feathers dripping blood in starlight, eyes wild with sorrow. Sophie finds black feathers on the stairs, soft as gilt. She gathers them carefully, stroking the silky barbs, smelling iron and storm on them. She begins to leave bowls of warm milk outside the bathroom door when she hears him crying in the dark. She never mentions it in daylight. Some tenderness is too fragile for sunlight. Have you ever loved someone by leaving the light on without ever saying their name? Just feel that quiet kindness settle over you now, like the softest quilt. Let it keep you warm. One morning, the castle wakes to pounding on the door. The Witch of the Waste has found them, bloated with magic and rage, her once beautiful face sagging like melted wax. She forces her way inside, perfume thick as funeral flowers. Howl, pale and shaking, tries to send her away, but the witch only laughs and slaps a curse on the air itself. Calcifer flares in panic. Sophie steps forward, tiny and fierce, and tells the witch exactly where she can go. In the struggle, the witch's magic backfires. She begins to shrink, layers of false youth peeling away like old wallpaper, until only a harmless, confused old lady remains, mumbling about cakes and handsome wizards. Sophie, without hesitation, wraps the witch in a blanket and sits her by the fire with a cup of tea. Mercy, offered as naturally as breathing. The castle exhales. Outside, gulls cry over the harbor. Inside, 4 misfits and 1 shrunken enemy share toast and silence. The war still rages beyond the hills. Howl's heart is still missing. Sophie's curse is still unbroken. But for one quiet moment, the hearth is warm and the tea is sweet, and nobody is alone. Rest here, darling. Feel the gentle rocking again, slower now, slower. Let the smell of apple wood smoke fill your lungs. Let the soft clink of teacups fade into the rain. We are only halfway through the journey, and already so much courage has been born in ordinary places. There is more magic waiting, more heartbreak, more healing. But for now, simply float in this small circle of firelight, held safe inside a castle that walks, because it too is learning how to come home. The castle has parked itself on a quiet hillside covered in wildflowers, the kind that close their petals when the sun hides. The air smells of warm grass and distant honey. Let that sweetness drift into your nose now, slow and golden, while the rain outside your real window keeps its steady, sleepy rhythm against the glass. Let every breath you take be heavier than the last. Let your arms sink deeper into the mattress. Let your thoughts become as soft and weightless as dandelion seeds. I am still here, closer than the pillow, speaking so quietly that only your heart can hear. Sophie stands at the open door of the castle, wind tugging her silver hair loose from its bun. In front of her stretches a meadow that was not there yesterday. It is Howl's secret gift, a hidden garden he made when he was very young, before he lost his heart, before he learned to run. The grass is impossibly green, buttercups glow like tiny suns, and at the center stands a small cottage almost swallowed by climbing roses. The scent is overwhelming. Warm earth, rose petals, childhood summers you can almost taste on the back of your tongue. Sophie steps barefoot onto the path. Her old feet feel the cool softness of moss, and the flowers seem to lean toward her as she passes. Howl appears beside her, no longer the dramatic wizard in silken coats. He is wearing a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled, hair tousled by the wind. For once he looks almost shy. "This is where I used to come when the world felt too big," he says, voice low. Sophie notices his hands tremble slightly. She reaches out without thinking and covers one of his hands with her wrinkled one. The contrast is startling. Young, smooth skin against papery age, yet somehow they fit. Howl turns his palm up and threads their fingers together, very gently, as though she is made of blown glass. They walk slowly between the flower beds. Bees hum drowsy lullabies. Howl tells her, piece by careful piece, how he met Calcifer long ago when he was a lonely boy who wanted the stars to love him back. He saw a falling star and caught it, and the star was Calcifer, burning and terrified. In exchange for the power to stay alive, Howl gave the demon his heart, literally pulled it beating from his chest and handed it over. "I thought hearts were troublesome things," he whispers. "I thought I would be freer without one." His voice cracks on the last word. Sophie feels the ache of it in her own chest, an echo of every time she decided she was too plain to be loved. Have you ever given away something precious because you believed you didn't deserve to keep it? Just let the question rest on your heart like a small bird. No need to chase it tonight. That evening, inside the flower-scented cottage, Sophie cuts Howl's hair. It has grown wild from his nights as a monster. She sits him on a low stool, drapes an old sheet around his shoulders, and combs through the golden strands with her fingers. The texture is silk and sunlight. Each snip of the scissors is soft, deliberate. Howl closes his eyes. When a lock falls across his face, he does not brush it away. He simply breathes, slow and shaky. Sophie's old hands move with the same tenderness she once used shaping felt hats. she hums under her breath, the same lullaby she hummed to Calcifer. When the last strand falls, Howl looks suddenly younger, vulnerable, heartbreakingly real. He catches her wrist gently. "Sophie," he says, and her name in his mouth sounds like the first word ever spoken after a long silence. Later, when the sky turns the color of bruised violets, Madame Suleiman's magical messenger arrives, a slimy, crawling blob of spell that oozes under the door like living ink. It carries the king's command. Howl must appear at the palace, or be hunted as a traitor. Howl's face goes white. Sophie watches the old terror rise in him like floodwater. That night he leaves again through the black door, feathers already sprouting from his shoulders, eyes glowing with animal sorrow. Sophie stands at the window and sees him wheel against the moon, a dark winged shape crying out in a voice that is no longer human. The next days are heavy with waiting. Sophie scrubs and cooks and pretends not to worry. She teaches the shrunken witch of the waste to knit. The old woman's fingers are clumsy but eager, and she smiles like a child when Sophie praises her crooked scarf. Markle practices disguises in the mirror, becoming an old man, a bearded merchant, a tiny red-headed boy again. Calcifer sulks in the hearth because Howl has not come back. Sophie sings to the fire every night, soft Welsh songs she somehow knows, though she has never been to Wales. The flames lean toward her voice, the way flowers lean toward light. Then comes the bombing. The war reaches even the peaceful hills. Enemy airships drift overhead like black whales, dropping bombs that bloom into orange fire. The castle shudders with every explosion. Sophie runs outside in her nightgown, silver hair flying, and screams Howl's name into the burning sky. She feels the curse tighten around her ribs like iron bands, because for the first time she is terrified of losing him. In that moment of pure, fierce love, her hair flashes brown for an instant, her back straightens a fraction. Love is loosening the spell, thread by thread. Howl returns at dawn, half dead, feathers matted with blood and soot. He collapses in the doorway, human again, but barely. Sophie and Markle drag him inside. His skin is cold as moonlight. Sophie bathes his wounds with water that smells of the secret garden roses. She cradles his head in her lap, rocking gently, whispering, "Come back, come back. You promised me breakfast. You promised, you coward. Come back." Tears fall from her old eyes onto his pale cheeks, and where they land, the skin warms. Calcifer flares brighter than he has in years, feeding on her tears the way flowers feed on rain. Have you ever been so afraid for someone that fear turned into a kind of prayer? Feel that prayer now, soft and wordless, resting in your chest like a sleeping bird. When Howl finally opens his eyes, they are the clear blue of a morning sky after storm. He looks up at Sophie, really looks, and sees past the wrinkles to the girl who has been there all along. "You're beautiful," he whispers, hoarse and wondering. Sophie laughs through her tears, a sound like bells underwater. "Don't be silly," she says, but her voice wavers, because for the first time in her life she almost believes it. Outside, the castle creaks and begins to walk again, slower now, limping a little, but moving toward whatever comes next. Inside, 5 broken people and 1 fire demon hold each other in the trembling quiet after the storm, breathing the same smoky air, sharing the same fragile hope. Rest here a moment longer, darling. Feel the gentle sway of the wounded castle rocking you. Smell the faint trace of blood and roses still lingering. Let your own heart beat slower, matching the tired footsteps of the castle on the hill. There is still one more great leap of courage waiting. One final breaking and mending, but for now simply be held in this fragile, flowering darkness, where love has already begun to win. The castle limps now, one iron leg cracked from the bombing, smoke trailing thin and tired behind it like a gray ribbon. The sky ahead is the color of old bruises. Let that bruised light settle gently over your closed eyes. Let the faint smell of scorched metal and wet earth drift into your slowing breath. You are so heavy now, so deliciously heavy, your whole body melting downward into the bed that loves you. Every word I whisper is a soft hand stroking your hair, telling you it is almost over, almost peaceful, almost home. Sophie stands at the hearth and makes the bravest decision of her life. She looks at Calcifer, small and frightened in the dying fire, and says, "Move yourself. We're leaving this war behind." Calcifer sputters, flames shrinking to blue candle size. "I can't. If I leave the hearth, I'll die." Sophie does not hesitate. She lifts the log he sits on with her bare, wrinkled hands, feeling the heat kiss her palms like a loyal dog that knows it is about to be freed. Calcifer shrieks, then clings to the log with tiny fiery arms, trusting her the way a child trusts its mother. Sophie carries him outside, places him gently in a small metal pan Markle brings, and the castle groans as its heart is removed. Wood splits, gears scream. The whole house begins to collapse inward like a tired animal folding to sleep. Howl staggers after her, still pale, eyes wide with terror. "Sophie, what have you done?" She turns to him, silver hair whipping in the hot wind of falling timbers, and says the truest thing she has ever spoken. "I'm saving you, you idiot." In that moment, the curse loosens again. Her hair flashes brown for whole seconds. Her back straightens until she is almost the girl she was. Love and fury together are stronger than any spell. They flee across the wasteland in a tiny flying contraption. Howl builds from scraps, a wooden platform with wings made of bed sheets and hope. The Witch of the Waste, now harmless and sleepy, sits bundled in blankets, clutching her knitting. Markle steers with a broom handle. Calcifer flickers in his pan, singing to keep himself alive. The wind smells of ash and salt and distant sea. Sophie holds Howl's hand so tightly her old knuckles go white. Below them the old castle collapses completely, folding in on itself with a sound like a giant sighing its last breath. They land at the edge of the ocean, on a small green hill where Turnip Head, the enchanted scarecrow who has followed Sophie faithfully all this time, waits with his creaking wooden smile. The sky clears to the softest rose gold. Sophie kneels and thanks Turnip Head, kissing his painted cheek. The spell on him breaks with a gentle pop, and he becomes a handsome young prince from the neighboring kingdom, freed at last. He smiles sadly, bows, and tells them the war will end now because its cause has vanished with the witch's power. Then he walks away into the sunrise, leaving only the faint scent of straw and gratitude. Now there is only one thing left. Sophie turns to Howl, who is staring at Calcifer with centuries of guilt in his eyes. "Give it back," she says quietly. Howl reaches into his chest, magic swirling like northern lights around his fingers, and pulls out his own heart, still beating, still glowing like a ruby soaked in starlight. It is the most beautiful and terrible thing Sophie has ever seen. Howl's knees buckle. For a moment he is the lonely boy who caught a falling star again. Tears run down his perfect face. "I don't know how to live with it anymore," he whispers. Sophie takes the heart in both her trembling hands, feeling it pulse warm and alive against her palms, and gently, so gently, presses it back into his chest. The light flares, then settles. Howl gasps, falls forward into her arms, and for the first time in years he has a heartbeat that belongs only to him. Calcifer, now free, shoots up into the sky like a joyful comet, laughing in a voice like crackling pine logs on Christmas night. "I'm going to see the world," he cries, and disappears into the dawn, leaving a trail of golden sparks that smell like birthday candles and freedom. The curse on Sophie shatters like glass in sunlight. She feels it leave her bones the way warm water leaves a cup, slowly, completely. Her silver hair turns rich brown again, her skin smooths, her back straightens until she is 18 and glowing. But something even more miraculous happens. For a single breath she flickers between young and old, young and old, young and old, and then she chooses. She chooses the shape that feels most like home, somewhere gently in the middle, silver threads at her temples, laugh lines beginning, strong and soft at once. She is finally, perfectly herself. Howl looks at her as though she is the first sunrise he has ever seen. He cups her face with both hands, thumbs brushing the corners of her smile, and says, "I've known who you were from the very first day. Old or young, it was always you." Then he kisses her, slow and wondering, tasting of salt tears and rose-petal mornings and every apology he never knew how to speak. Sophie kisses him back with all the courage she found, scrubbing floors and carrying fire, and refusing to let the person she loved disappear. The wind lifts them both an inch off the ground, gentle as a promise. Have you ever been loved exactly as you are? Not in spite of your scars, but because of them. Let that love settle over you now like the softest blanket ever woven, warm and weightless at once. Around them, the wreckage of the old castle rearranges itself with quiet magic. Broken beams rise, windows mend, chimneys straighten. A new castle forms, smaller, lighter, bright with fresh paint and climbing roses. It has wings now, real wings like a bird, and it lifts gently into the morning air, carrying Sophie, Howl, Markle, and even the sleepy Witch of the Waste toward a sky that has finally remembered how to be blue. Calcifer streaks past overhead, laughing, a moving star saying goodbye and thank you at the same time. The war ends that same day. The kings sign papers they do not understand. The guns fall silent. The sky stops bleeding smoke. Children run outside and look up to see a beautiful castle flying with wings of white and gold, trailing flower petals like blessings. And somewhere inside that castle, an old new Sophie stands on the balcony with Howl's arms around her waist, her head resting against his heartbeat, listening to the wind sing through the roses. She is no longer afraid of being plain. He is no longer afraid of being brave. They are simply, finally, home. Rest now, darling. Let the new castle rock you one last time, softer than any cradle. Let the scent of roses and clean wind fill your closing dreams. Everything broken has been mended. Everything lost has been found. You can let go completely. The new castle is gliding now, so high that the clouds look like soft wool beneath its wings, so quiet that the only sounds are the gentle creak of fresh timber and the slow, steady beating of two hearts that have finally found their way back to their proper owners. The sun is setting somewhere behind the horizon, spilling rose and gold across the sky like warm honey. Let that honey light pour over your closed eyelids. Let it seep into every corner of your body until you are glowing from the inside out, until you feel as weightless as the castle itself. Breathe in the faint scent of roses that still clings to the air. Breathe out the very last thread of the day. Good. You are almost asleep now, almost gone, and that is exactly where you are meant to be. Listen. Somewhere inside the castle, Sophie is humming the same lullaby she once hummed to Calcifer. The notes drift through the open windows and mingle with the evening wind, soft, slow, endless. Howl is beside her, chin resting on her shoulder, eyes half closed, smiling the small private smile that belongs only to people who have been terrified of love and discovered it was the only thing worth being terrified for. Markle is curled on a cushioned bench with the Witch of the Wast's finished scarf tucked under his cheek like a kitten. The old woman herself dozes in a rocking chair, snoring gently, dreaming of cakes she will never again need magic to taste. High above them all, Calcifer occasionally streaks past the moon just to wave a fiery hand and remind them that freedom feels like laughter. Have you noticed, sweet one, how quietly everything healed? No grand speeches, no thunderclap of magic, just small ordinary acts. Scrubbing soot, cutting hair, carrying a frightened flame in careful hands, choosing to stay when running would have been easier. That is how the deepest wounds close, one gentle, stubborn kindness at a time. Did you know that Miyazaki once said he made this film for every person who ever felt ugly or useless or too old to matter? He wanted you to know that courage can look like an old woman in bedroom slippers telling a wizard to stop being dramatic. Beauty can look like wrinkled hands holding a trembling heart until it remembers how to beat on its own. Love can look like toast and laundry and refusing to let someone disappear into the night. Have you ever felt cursed by your own thoughts, darling? By the quiet voice that says you are too plain, too broken, too late? Sophie heard that voice every day of her young life, and then she heard it again when the mirror showed her 90 years in one night. But she kept walking. She kept cleaning. She kept loving, and the curse cracked open like an eggshell because love is always stronger than fear, even when it is whispered through missing teeth and aching knees. You do not need a moving castle. You do not need a wizard's kiss. You only need the same stubborn tenderness Sophie found inside herself the moment she decided someone else's heart was worth saving. That tenderness is already in you, sleeping quietly under all the tired places. Tonight it is waking up, stretching, remembering its own strength. Feel it now, a small warm glow just beneath your ribs, the same color as Calcifer's happiest flame. Let it grow with every slow breath until it fills your chest, your throat, the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet. Let it rise up through your heavy, happy limbs and spill out into the dark like soft golden light. You are glowing now, gently, steadily, the way the new castle glows against the night sky. Nothing can touch this light. Nothing can curse it. It belongs to you the way Howl's heart finally belongs to him again, freely given, freely returned. One last quiet trivia before you go. In the very last frames of the film, if you look closely at the balcony railing, you will see a single brown hat with a sprig of heather tucked into the ribbon. Sophie made it the morning after the curse broke for no reason except that she wanted to. She wears it sometimes when the wind is gentle. Beauty, made simply because someone finally believes she is allowed to make beautiful things for herself. Have you ever done something just because it made your own heart smile? If not yet, let tonight be the night you give yourself permission. The world will be softer tomorrow because of it. The castle is turning now, very slowly, toward whatever tomorrow holds. The roses on its wings are closing for the night, petals folding like sleepy hands. Somewhere far below, the sea is breathing in and out against the shore, in and out, the same rhythm as your own breath now, slow, slower, gone. Let my voice be the last thing you hear before you fall all the way into sleep. Let it wrap around you like Howl's coat once wrapped around Sophie on the day they flew above the rooftops. You are safe. You are loved exactly as you are. Wrinkles, fears, missing pieces, and all. You are beautiful in the same quiet way. Sophie is beautiful in the same stubborn way. Howl is brave in the same fierce way Calcifer is free. Good night, dear one. Good night, and thank you for walking through the waste with them. The castle will still be flying when you wake, carrying its small family of healed hearts across a sky that finally learned how to be kind. Sleep now. Sleep deep. Sleep, love.